everyone, wherever you are and whatever time it is when you're listening. My name's Ant, and I am back with another Doctor Who review of the 2023 specials. This time we are looking at Wild Blue Yonder, the second of the three 14th Doctor specials that are airing. To talk about this, I'm joined as ever by the indomitable Mr. Barry Nugent. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Don't think I've ever been called indomitable before, but I'll take that.
So, the old blurb from the BBC website said it's another short one. I quite like it when they're short.
Yeah.
The TARDIS takes the Doctor and Donna to the furthest edge of adventure. To escape, they must face the most desperate fight of their lives, with the fate of the universe at stake. There we go, and that's all we got. And there's no real sort of like previews and trailers and stuff really for this one, was it? They kept a lot of it under wraps, which did lead to a lot of speculation online about stuff, which I promptly ignored because I don't like spoilers for things I'm going to watch anyway. So I was quite pleased for that. So again, written by Russell T Davies. Yeah, I mean, should we do like we did last week? Just kind of like do overall thoughts and delve into bits as they come up.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, I'll kind of go first on this one a bit while I compose myself a bit. Yeah, I thought they did a good job of the creepiness in this. I thought it was a really good episode, and I have watched it twice now. And I was still kind of like moved or taken aback in the same way the second time through as was the first. So I think that's quite a testament to it, because it was only like a day apart as well in viewings.
Yeah.
Whether it's my favourite episode or not, probably not, but it was certainly what I would call a very strong Doctor Who, in that it had a concept and it ran with it, and I like that. What about you?
So I've watched it. I also have watched this twice now. I've got to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. Because it's one of those episodes of Doctor Who I think every so often that comes along, which there's a very small like cast. I mean, obviously in this case it was only like the Doctor and Donna times two, and one other cast member who we'll talk about later, I'm sure. And it reminded me of those episodes like I think, was it Midnight?
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of the thing with episodes like this is it kind of rises or falls on the strength of the performances. You can have as much kind of flashy visual effects, but if the performances aren't there for the idea that you're going with, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
And it didn't. It didn't. David Tennant and Catherine Tate were like nailing it through this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that had I watched this, so I know there's some like, and I've seen, as I said, we've got a little chat group and stuff. And as Dave was saying, she found some of the body stuff took her out because she found it quite hilarious. I did not.
No, I'll be honest. I didn't find it, for like when it first did it. It was kind of like, yeah, I kind of get the point of, like when you first saw like Donna with the long arm, and yeah, she was right in front of the Doctor, so he'd have seen that already, sort of thing. However, the way it was shot, and for us, it was a good kind of like jump creep. I'm not going to say jump scare, but it was a jump creep, that bit kind of thing. Some of the other stuff later on were a bit more, I would say, on the scary side of things.
Because what I was thinking when I was watching this both times, that bit when they're kind of driving away from it and they're being chased, and their faces are all kind of distorted and they're giant and stuff.
Yeah.
Scared the look, I'm a 54-year-old man, and that scared the bejesus out of me. Had I watched that when I was a kid, because I'm fairly sure my fear of spiders and stuff came from was it Planet of the Spiders?
Yeah, with the John Pertwee regeneration story.
Yeah. I think it came from that, right? So to me, had I watched that as a kid, so I'm trying to put myself in them sort of like, if kids are watching it, I would not be sleeping that night, and I would not be sleeping the night after that, and probably would need some sort of counselling sessions, because it was just because it looked. My thing is when things just look off and look wrong, it kind of sits, it stays with me.
Yeah, it's that uncanny valley thing.
Yeah,
Because they were, it was obviously it was obviously green screen to us as an adult. However, yeah, you're right. There was something that was just twisted about it, and there were moments where it was kind of like, and I think this is tribute to Tom Kingsley, the director, in that a lot of those scenes he didn't dwell on it too much. It was almost like there were a lot of like quick cuts in places.
Yeah.
And that kind of really helped sell it as well. Like, because you kind of like it was only when it really lingered that you kind of had time to process, oh, clearly a green screen kind of thing. But when it was just flashing and you just saw like David Tennant with the one bulging eye and and stuff like that, it was really well done. I mean, we watched it with Cara. Amy had watched it on Saturday night to just see, because I'd heard it was going to be a bit of a nightmare fuel one sort of thing. So we watched it yesterday afternoon with Cara, and she was okay with it for the most part, but there were some things like the whole like contortion bits and stuff. It was like Amy told her to look away for those bits, and fair play, she did, sort of thing.
The contortion bit, that was the one bit that I was like, that's a bit silly. So when he sort of bent over backwards and his head was between, that was so fake.
Yeah.
But then the next, sorry, I was just gonna say, but then the next shot where he's kind of chasing Donna out the room, that bit was freaky.
Well, that was a person. That was an actual contortionist.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had it's quite funny. I was looking through like the cast and crew and stuff, and they had like a body double, then they had a contortion but double, and there was a third double as well. Yeah, it was like properly like thing. But yeah, you're right. That bit where he literally goes up his own arse, so to speak.
Yeah,
which we all know Doctor Who can do at times, but it's never been quite so literal. Yeah, that for me was a little bit different. But like you say, that kind of, and again, it was because it was kind of shot at a weird frame rate as well, so it was kind of looked really scuttly and crab like.
Yeah.
It was not right, even for me, kind of thing, who, normally that I'd be all right with that, I think. But yeah, it was kind of like, oh, that's creepy. Yeah. And the other thing that really helped with it as well, though, was the music was on point throughout. It was weird. It was kind of both giving a sense of awe, but also eeriness at the same time.
Mm.
It was like both those emotions were very much there with me throughout the episode, and it was the music that was doing a lot of that for me.
Yeah.
So hats off to Murray Gold on that one, kind of thing. It's it hit the nail right on the head.
Also, like, and I didn't realise until I watched it the second time around, because I was trying to see the join. So, because it's quite slow paced to begin with, which I didn't have a problem with, because actually the acting was there, and so I was fine.
Yeah.
But it's when they're having that conversation, and I think I was kind of drawn in by the conversations. I didn't realise what was happening. So the bit where the Doctor's talking about like the TARDIS, and kind of like, maybe like the TARDIS will just go somewhere, and it will just, to begin, and it'll be like a tribe, and they won't know what it is, and they'll start attacking it, and then this whole civilization will build up around it, but she'll still be there, my TARDIS, and I loved all of that. I love stuff like that.
Mm.
And then because it kept flipping back and forth between the two of them, I thought it was showing the passage of time.
Right, with you.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was that kind of, which I see them do in other shows sometimes, because it's kind of like, because they've been there for such a long time, and you kind of show them doing the same things.
Yeah.
It was only when I watched it the second time, and a bit obviously with Donna walks into the room, that was a bit, I was like, nah, this is dodge. Just the way she came in, the way she spoke, I was like, this is dodge. And yet when it was the Doctor doing it to Donna, the kind of evil Doctor Whoever sold it much better, as in, like, I wasn't sure, because he can kind of be a little bit like that, a bit quiet, a bit off centre.
Yeah.
Whereas it didn't fit for Donna's character. So that's where I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so on that, it's kind of like, because Cara was like, why does it keep jumping around, kind of thing? And I said one of the Doctors and one of the Donna, because I'd figured it out, sort of thing, like,
Yeah.
And I was like, one of the Doctors isn't real and one of the Donnas isn't real. And she watched it for a few more seconds, and she went, the Donna in the water isn't real, and the Doctor who sat down isn't real. so she managed to twig then what was slightly off about it.
Yeah, thus proving Kara be a far more useful companion than me.
Well, I don't know about I don't know
Uh,
about that. But yeah, no, it was, yeah, like you said earlier, their performance, both Catherine Tate and David Tennant was off the charts. Just bringing that slight edge to it. And yeah, there were bits a bit later where it was kind of like they were more in your face with it all, but that was again deliberate because they were trying at that point to deliberately kind of like put the willies up the real version sort of thing
yes,
to get
yeah,
to get their reaction. So, but those early scenes especially,
yeah,
and the things I quite liked as well was in all those kind of like who's who sort of moments, because there was a few of them. It was sort of Donna who'd worked it out, and the Doctor still wasn't sure.
yeah.
He nearly got it. It was only the fact that the Donna not thing lost her shape, her form,
That
kind of thing,
that
that he got out
scene,
of it.
yeah, that scene was one of my favorite. That scene was one of my favorites, where because it was a nice little nod to the Flux,
Yeah,
and just the way she sold it, and then his reaction as well.
yeah.
And it
It
was
was the fact that
almost,
he wanted to believe that she knew.
yeah, yeah, and because obviously it's gone to David Tennant now, you kind of, I'd forgotten that
Mm,
obviously this is still a later incarnation of the Doctor.
yeah,
And I almost feel like, it's no disrespect to Jodie, but I almost feel like I'm glad that he got that, because I feel that was, out of all of them, with maybe the exception of Capaldi, he's the one that kind of really nails that kind of emotional stuff really well with the anger as well.
yeah.
Like the bit when you're kind of running down the corridor, he's just coming down the corridor, and then he loses it because obviously he's just had that moment with it. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. It had me until she kind of dropped through the floor.
Yeah.
Um, and then even the bit when it was, and I quite like the way the other Donna figured it out. It was kind of like, "Where's your tie?"
Yeah. He's like, oh, taking it off. So, yeah, it was down there. Where is it now?
Yeah,
Oh, think things don't stop existing when they're
yeah.
not.
I didn't quite understand the salt bit.
So what, as in like the purpose of it, or as in like the?
Yeah, because it was like, yeah, in our world, like werewolves and ghosts and whatever can't get past salt. Which I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I get that, but then why would it stop them? Because they're,
So basically, they're in my head. They're obviously reading the Doctor and Donna's thoughts,
yeah,
so they know that the Doctor's thoughts is generally ghosts, vampires, and stuff are usually extra dimensional or extra universal beings in somehow, and therefore those kind of things that have worked,
okay,
kind of unbecome part of superstition, may work against them.
right, okay.
That was my take on it. I was more concerned by where the hell he got the pot of salt from.
Yes, there was that. I mean, because it was a tight waistcoat and trousers he was got.
Yeah, he didn't have
did
his coat.
think, okay.
He didn't have the coat and many pockets.
Yeah, when he had his coat later, I was like, well, that would have been fine. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Because we all have a random pot of salt in our pocket.
you never know, do you?
I say that I do always take tea bags and stuff with me when I go to hotels, so it's not that far off, is it?
Yeah. But I mean, can we just take a moment to say that the real heroes, which I've made a note of this to say the real heroes are Horse Captain and Jimbo.
Yeah. God bless Jimbo.
God bless Jimbo, who kind of reminded me a little bit, even though it's a very different design, of old Bob from the Black Hole film.
Okay. Yeah.
It looks nothing like it, but it's just,
No.
I don't know. I was gutted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you kind of wanted Jimbo to get on the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Be the new K9.
Just be in the background in every episode. He just walks a step. So that's all he done.
So you wouldn't restore him. It'd literally be frozen Bob.
Or it'd be a little bit like the Cloister Bell sort of thing. It's like when he takes a step, it's like, it's on now. And yeah, Horse Captain, man. I tell you, that'd have been great. They'd have been great companions for an episode, them two.
That is a spin-off show. Horse Captain and Jimbo.
Horse Captain
Saviors of the multiverse.
Jimbo the robot, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they did. I mean, yes, okay, the Doctor did kind of speed it up and sort of finish it off, but
Well,
that Captain.
Yeah. Let's face it. If the Doctor hadn't turned up, though, the nut things would have been wiped out because they wouldn't have been able to figure it out.
Yeah, good point.
The Doctor and Donna being there actually made things worse.
Yeah, very good point.
It's because like you say, Captain Horseface had sorted it.
Yeah.
They didn't understand things being slow, and they didn't understand why they couldn't read her anymore.
I also think as well, given what I said about the last episode, as I felt that needed 2 episodes to breathe, I felt this was a perfect solo episode.
Yeah, absolutely. It's felt like a midpoint as well. It was kind of like almost like that kind of act 2, kind of like slower, more sedate, but actually quite revealing episode. And in this case, it was revealing about the characters and where they are.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about any kind of arc or anything like that. It was very much who is this Doctor now, or where, and why is this Doctor now, and who is Donna now, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think, like, I watched the I don't know if I watched all of it though, but the behind the scenes episode. And one of the things that Russell T had said was, like, when he'd had the original idea, which was going to be just the 2 of them, that as it had gone on, he started to think about, like, expanding it out and having more characters in there, maybe another Doctor, maybe this, maybe that. And then he sort of just said, sometimes as a writer, you get carried away, and sometimes you've just got to stick to the idea that you've had and just trust the idea.
Yeah, and trust that writer's instinct.
Yeah, and as a writer, obviously not the writer of a high-budget television show, but as a writer, I get that. I get that draw to sort of move away from that central idea that you've had, and sometimes you end up spending months, years, only to then come back and go, actually, my original idea was the best idea.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that he did stick with it, because it would have been really easy to have done a kind of ensemble piece where you'd had maybe, I don't know, they could have gone on a ship and it could have been like another 4 people on there, or like a load of scavenger pirates on there, a bit like, what was it, Planet of... The one we first meet.
Like, what was a Mars?
Donna's song.
Oh, River Song.
Song,
Silence in the Library. And
yeah. You could have had like a team in there, or like a salvage team or something like that in there as well. It would have been easy to have expanded it out and not trusted that 2 people could carry it. But
yeah, it was definitely the right call though, because if there'd have been other people there, I think a lot of the tension would have just been gone anyway, because you just immediately don't trust the other people.
Yeah.
If anything's a bit weird, it's easy to then sort of like, when they get taken out, you don't care as much, as horrible as that sounds, but you don't. Whereas, like, when it's just the Doctor and Donna and the TARDIS is gone, the Sonic's gone, literally down to their own wits, and even, let's face it, the Doctor made things worse by thinking things through. Just even his brain became the enemy, essentially. So yeah, no, it was really good. And like you say, I'd forgotten about Midnight temporarily, but yeah, you're right. It was very much in that vein. Which again, it was David Tennant and I can't remember who the other main character in that one, what actor in that one was, but they sold it, especially when they're doing like the repeating stuff to each other. It's that level of weird and odd and uncanny. And I think that's the thing sometimes. Uncanny is often better drama than scares. Kind of thing, it's like, it's like why Blink is quite good, because actually, there's a few jump scares, but it's kind of taking that ordinary thing and making it not right, kind of thing. And this kind of did that, but with basically the people that we're following, and when they're not right, what can you trust?
Yeah, especially as like you said, because they're best friends. It's like even when they ran into each other and they weren't sure, there's a part of them that wanted them to be the right one.
Yeah.
And you're right, whether if it had been strangers, you wouldn't have cared less in the same way.
Yeah, I think as well, so the one thing I think was a slight misstep was, I kind of think Donna would have laid into the Doctor for taking the wrong one.
Yeah, it was. Yes, I can't. I sort of thought that.
However,
But I think what was good about that, because I thought it was great that actually he was momentarily fooled,
yeah,
because it would have just as easily been a kind of like, when that's what I bought into, was he asked a question and and then she sort of gave the answer like, I
yeah,
don't know.
it was the most Donna answer, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. And
It
then
just is.
yeah, it is. And he was like, yeah, come on. And in my head, I was like, oh, of course, that's great. Of course it's Donna. And that's the twist, is like he's figured it out. But then it is actually, when she's screaming, I'm like, she seems to be screaming a lot, given the fact that she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then you're suddenly like, oh, no, it actually is her.
Yeah, and then it cuts in and it's just like Donna's like got that slight grin on her face.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of like,
But I think had he got that Donna back, well, he did when he got the real Donna back. I think if they'd then taken the time for her to have a go at him, there would have been I would have been worried it could have gone down the comedy route, which would have taken away from what had just happened.
Yeah, that's fair. And it was, you know, you had that kind of like basically them just needing the fact that they were there kind of thing, you know, and a little peck on the head and stuff, and then just back into a conversation kind of thing, you know, doing the doctor just brushing stuff off kind of thing, like, you know.
Yeah, I quite like that conversation, because that felt like a really realistic conversation between two mates, not a doctor and a companion. It was all kind of like, so what happened then? Well, you know, stuff.
A lot. Yeah.
You know, a lot. You all right? Yeah, I will be. You know, that's a conversation you have between mates when one of you is like really struggling sometimes, and you don't want to talk about it, but the other person knows. And
the other person knows not to press, but knows to say enough to know that you're there.
Yeah.
And that's what real mates do.
Yeah. And can I just say again, Disney money on effect. I think the funniest thing I saw was someone that said, I think it was in our group, said, so in all the other Doctor Who shows, we've got them running down loads of corridors. And Disney get involved. There's a lot more money, bigger budget, so they basically just give them a bigger, longer
corridor. I'm expecting next week to have a bigger quarry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's true. But I mean, it was a beautiful corridor.
It was a beautiful corridor, and I've got to say, when the ship blew up at the end, I was half expected to see the Millennium Falcon come flying out with Lando go, yeah,
lined up, going, yeah.
So I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, the scene I really loved, actually, and it was very kind of like in keeping with the tone they had. It was very sort of like Aliens in 2001. Was when he got the drone out of the ship and you saw like just the ship's exterior, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of think that was a beautiful shot as well.
Yeah. And then the little monologue the Doctor gives about the fact that they're the edge of the universe.
Yeah, that was beautifully written as well. You know, the fact that, you know, how can everything have an edge?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and you can't understand it, kind of thing. And it's true, because you don't quite, you know, it kind of like, you say the edge of the universe and you think, okay, yeah, but then it's like, hang on, but what?
Yeah.
And that's not a thing.
Hey, how does that work?
Yeah. That was really nice. And such a good place to have this kind of like weird, kind of uncanny enemy as well. You know, where it's kind of like the demon pit, you know, where you've got that kind of what is the case kind of thing, you know. Satan pit, sorry, not demon pit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I knew what you meant, yeah.
Yeah. And again, David Tennant played that really well in that one as well. So, you know, it was, well, I mean, he's just a bloody good actor, so.
It was in their wheelhouse, and they said they nailed it. My only sort of thing that I didn't. Oh no! Before I get to the thing I didn't like, I want to say as well, what was I really liked was the fact that he didn't have a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah. The fact they took it away, because it meant, again, he had to use his wits properly, and just his knowledge, which was really good.
Yeah. Also, could they have manufactured a sonic screwdriver? I don't know.
What, on the ship?
The sort of nothing.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what you mean, like mimic it sort of thing.
Yeah, would that have been their sort of if the Doctor had if Doctor sent screwdriver, he might be able to just scan him and go, oh no, that's
not Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. So I thought that was an interesting choice. I liked that because, like you said, you're just having to rely on your wits and each other to get you out of dodge.
Yeah. Also, I do quite like this new sonic screwdriver as well. The design of it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of like got a good look at it this week, and I thought that's quite good. And I also quite like the fact that he had a non-sonic screwdriver as well.
Yeah. She's like, no, I think you mean a screwdriver.
Yeah. And again, a lot of that banter was really good.
Yeah,
really well played.
yeah. And again, not overdone on the comedy stuff. Just enough.
And again, like the whole kind of like, whose fault is it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And blaming each other, but then like the Doctor's like, no, this is my mate. I'm accountable for this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that, because we've got to be critical if we see things we don't like. The only thing, and both times just didn't work for me, was the opening.
Yes.
Because
the pre-title bit.
Yeah, the pre-title, because when I said about they did the comedy just right, I'd forgotten about the beginning because they didn't.
Yeah.
So, mainly because it just didn't. Had they then been doing like what I call a whimsical episode, and had Sergeant Newton gonna be popping up left, right, and centre, then fair enough.
Yeah.
But it just, and I kind of almost get there, almost like we want to start with a bit of a light note because we're gonna go into darkness. Yeah, I kind of get that, but you didn't. In my mind, that was 5 minutes wasted.
Yeah, and I'll be like, I don't. It felt to me like if you drop that 5 minutes, it actually would have made more sense to open with the TARDIS just crashing on the ship anyway.
Yeah.
Just purely because the amount of danger and stuff that was going on and the TARDIS being in chaos, for them to have the time to stick their heads out and start fiddling about with a little console and also start saying things like console and it's a time ship to someone from 1666
and cracking jokes
and understanding the gravity of the situation, which, as we know, then Sir Isaac Newton misheard and changed it to gravity.
Do you know where else that quote popped up?
No.
See, the minute they started to say it, I'm like, I know what they're going to say, and I know where they got that from. Matt Smith, what number Doctor is he?
11th.
Right. 11th Doctor said it in the Weeping Angels episode.
Oh, did he in the one with
spaceship
River Song in the Babylon or whatever it's called?
He said, "Yeah, I think you're not realising the gravity of the situation, something like that." But I definitely remember it.
Right.
So I thought, yeah, okay, that's nice. But for me, that whole opening sequence just did not work. And I think you're right. It just, you had all that comedy. We've stopped here, a little bit of a joke, and then the next minute you're crashing, diving out, and the TARDIS is exploding, kind of. So it kind of the two bits just they jarred for me.
Yeah, I think there was one other bit that I was a bit. I mean, I mentioned the salt. Where does the pot come from? But there was one other bit that was a bit kind of like really had to suspend my disbelief for, and that was the bit where the Doctor figured out that if he stepped on a panel, a buggy would pop up.
Oh yeah, I was kind of. He's like, well, if I'm right, and you touch it, I thought, okay, but then does that mean every one of those panel bits, if you press it, a buggy's gonna jump up? Why was there?
And how did you not accidentally step?
Yeah.
Just buggies popping up all over the place. Yeah, I was just like, I don't get where that came from. And also, I'll be honest, looking at the design of that buggy and the design of Captain Horse Lady, I don't think she'd have fit in that buggy.
That's a good point. Didn't really. Yeah, you're right. It didn't really.
Because it was small for a human, and that horse skeleton was taller.
Yeah, didn't really fit for the
design of the ship or anything.
Yeah. It didn't fit the design of the ship. You're right, actually. Yeah, that's a very good point.
But that's pretty much all I've got.
Yeah. I'm looking down my list, and that's pretty much all I've got. So to end on a high, much like the episode, I've got to say that the last couple of minutes was some of the most glorious couple of minutes I've seen in a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah,
Good old Bernard Cribbins, aka Wilf.
he does make everything better.
Just to see the kind of like, honestly, like there's acting and there's just real stuff. You can't fake that.
Yeah.
And the look on his face when you see David Tennant popping his head around the corner is just, yeah. I'm so glad that we got to see him one last time and got to see him see the Doctor come back. And
Yes.
it's his Doctor. I thought, yeah, great way to end it.
Yeah,
And then
'cause
to end the episode like that, where basically all hell's breaking loose, literally.
Yeah, again, classic cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And Bernard Cribbins, he was a star. And it was nice to obviously they put the tribute to him at the end as well.
Yeah, which is nice.
So yeah, no, it was great. Because again, I watched the behind the scenes thing, and on that they were saying about they would have loved to have done more with him, but that's all he could manage at the time.
Okay.
But even at the age of 90 and being ill, he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. He said just those couple of minutes was enough for me.
And like you say, just that pure joy that he got out.
It certainly made me want to go back and watch a couple of episodes with him in it, because he actually had some of the best scenes with David Tennant came out of Wilf stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have been proud if you were my dad.
Yeah, all
Stuff like that.
Just. And you definitely got a sense that was the sort of relationship that they had, even though the Doctor was like thousands of years older than him. You just always got that sort of sense that it was almost like a father-son relationship. Even in that little sequence when he comes back, it felt like a son coming back to say hello to him.
Yeah, like the prodigal son returning. Almost.
Yeah. So I thought it was a brilliant episode.
Yeah, because I was trying to think. Like before we even started recording, and like before these special started to air and stuff, I was thinking, could you go back to Donna with a different Doctor? And I kind of thought, you probably could do it if the actor could sell it, but that scene with Wilf you would not have had, and that would have been a travesty.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm now sold with David Tennant being back.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing that you say, and it's not trying to end on a down. I'm not ending on a down. It's more of just raising the questions, I guess. Is the response to him coming back has been massively positive, and Catherine Tate as well, has been massively positive. My concern and my worry is that they ain't half given the next guy coming along a bit of a hill to climb.
Yeah.
Because working on the basis the next week's episode's going to be good. It could be awful. I don't know. But I'm working on the basis it's going to be good. You got Neil Patrick Harris in there. I mean, and my worry is that the new guy's going to come in and everyone's going to be like, oh, wish we had Tennant for a bit longer. Yeah, he's good, but I wish we had Tennant. I wish we had Catherine Tate back. And so it's almost like you've not set him up first, wrong way to put it, but either Russell T is because obviously he's filmed with him and all the rest of it, and obviously so either he's sitting there going, I'm not even worried because this guy's that, him and the new companion are that good. I'm not even worried. Or they are good, but you've still you've not calculated just how much the positive response was going to be.
Yeah, I personally think they misstepped a little by. So originally, David Tennant wasn't the 14th Doctor; he was called the Bridge Doctor because it was meant to be clear that he was temporary.
Okay.
So the idea was that he was the bridge between the 13th and 14th Doctor, and the fact that it's 3 specials and they've always made it clear that he's back for 3, I think will help in that, because it's not kind of like, oh, now he's gone sort of thing. You're expecting him to be gone, and people are that high because they want to see where this story ends now, I think. But yeah, I have the same concern as you. The one thing I would say though is that you've got Russell T still carrying on and doing the next Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He's transitioned to Doctor before. He's seen also then a smooth transition into Stephen Moffat with Matt Smith, you know, by I mean as showrunner kind of thing. So he knows how to make it. Plus, let's face it, he's got money in the game now.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, but even all of those things, and still, if you've not taken into account the level of
the fervor,
doesn't matter. But I think what you said, which I do agree with, is the fact that because everyone loved Eccleston.
Yeah.
And when it was like he's only there for one season, everyone was like, "What? What now?" And then Tennant came in, and I remember watching that first episode with Tennant and going, "I'm not sure." And then he did something at the end. I think it's the last. Yeah. I think if he's like, "Yeah, no second chances." It's the kind of man I am, and I was like, "Okay, all right." And then I think it's that same one where the ship gets destroyed. And he starts having a go at the Prime Minister, and he's like, "I could bring down your career like in five words or something like that." She looked tired, and I thought, "Okay, all right."
Yeah.
And then he went on to become like a massively successful and popular Doctor. So from that perspective, I feel quite positive about it because we're in a similar situation, albeit obviously Tennant's had many more years, but. Yeah. It's still a similar situation. We've got a hugely popular Doctor about to regenerate into an unknown. I mean, yes, I've not seen him in anything. Everyone else who's seen him in stuff says he's great. So
yeah, I've only seen him in the Barbie movie, so I can't say too much from that.
Yeah. But Sue's so excited to see him because she loves him as an actor. So
yeah,
that's kind of good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see, like you said, I'm excited to see how they wrap this up. Will we actually get an explanation as to why he's come back with that face? Because I got to say, I'd be a little bit frustrated if we don't get he just then regenerates into the new Doctor. I'd be kind of like, okay, but
it's got to be part of some master plan or game.
You're wondering if it's the toy maker that's done
yeah. Someone or something's had a paw in the game there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to cover in an hour.
Yeah, is it just an hour?
Well, these two have been, so I'm assuming.
God, that's what I was thinking. I was like, you got a lot of ground to cover because I was kind of hoping that Sheety was gonna. Still am hoping that he's not going to regenerate right at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I saw something which was you'll see him at Christmas, but whether that's kind of like he'll regenerate at Christmas, so there'll be like a bit of a cold open with David Tennant or something. I don't know. 65 minutes the giggle's going to be.
Yeah. Which is still longer because this one was like 50 something, wasn't it?
57 and 54, I think the other were.
I mean, but the little trailer for the giggle just literally show a little bit like he's about to regenerate.
Okay, I say I've not watched it, so.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I won't say every bit I've seen it. But yeah, so I was kind of wondering as some sort of twist that he may regenerate earlier. So we get to see a bit more of him. But also, I think one of the things they've done, which I think is clever, because normally when they've done a regeneration, we've then got to wait for God knows how many months, sometimes almost a year, before we actually see that new Doctor.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's doing the regeneration and then he's got the Christmas special is him is a smart move.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a very smart move, is to kind of let people get used to the fact that we've got a new Doctor now.
And as well, the fact that there's 2 weeks in between.
Yeah.
So, it's, as I say, I would have liked to have filled that time with specials, but that's me being selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd quite like, see, like you say, last week Star Beast is a 2-parter, then this maybe a 2-part finale or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's just to tide you over, and then he comes in for the Christmas special.
Yeah.
But then I suppose then you've got, is that more episodes then with Tennant, more time for him to feel like he's embedded? Because to me, he's only done 2 episodes. It felt like no time has passed.
Yeah.
Which is why, that's what I mean. That's why suddenly the worries at back of my mind, like, oh, if I'm thinking that, oh.
Yeah.
But,
no, yeah, I do. I do have a bit of that concern. I've just kind of like got. It's I've never. I think my thing with it is it's kind of like the fans do tend to go with a new Doctor as long as the writing is also on par.
Mm-hmm.
And because you've got the same showrunner and the same writer, sort of like keeping it all together, I've got high hopes. It was like, when Matt Smith was announced, I kind of like thought, who's this young whippersnapper? Oh, well, I like Stephen Moffat's writing it. I'm sure it'll be fine. And it was, and he became very popular as well.
Yeah.
Then Jodie came in, and again, a phenomenal actor, but the writing wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I'm less concerned because of that. But yeah, the way the internet is these days, especially, it's like, yeah. But we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, hopefully, because then there'll be many more episodes. But hopefully, it'll all go well, and it'll be well picked.
I'm proper excited. It doesn't matter whether it goes really well or really bad. I'm just excited to see. I'm excited to see how they round this up, and I'm excited to see how he comes in. And then I'm really excited by the fact that I've only got to wait 2 weeks to then see him get his feet under the table.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird, and I shouldn't be, but every sort of picture I see of him, and is it Ruby?
Yes, Ruby's the companion's name. Yeah.
Just, I don't know. There's just that part where it just thinks, yeah, they're going to be right,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've not heard any dialogue between the two of them whatsoever, but I don't know.
Just something about the look of it.
The look of it, the dynamic between the two. And again, as I said, I'll come back to the Russell, although he did a stormer this episode, but Russell T's plots aren't always the best, but he gets characters. Yeah. He can get character. And when we get into the main series, he won't be writing every episode anyway. He'll be overseeing.
No, exactly. He'll just be overseeing it, and that thing, and he'll have got writers he can trust and new writers that he's seen something special in.
Right then.
But, let's round up then.
Yeah.
So, thank you once again for taking time to listen to us ramble on about the good old Doctor and their travels through the old universe. We will be back next week, probably about the same time, I imagine, to discuss the final special titled Giggle, which sees the return of an old foe. Sorry, mate. Go on.
That was giggly.
Oh, you were giggling. Oh, I see.
Not very well.
I was going to say, I thought you
that
was say something profound. See why Dave's the actor.
Yeah. All right, easy.
So we will see you then. B, where can people find us?
Good question. We are, I was going to say we're on the internet. It's not really, I'll narrow it down for you. We are on Instagram. Just search for Geek Syndicate. We're on Facebook, got a private Facebook group. I will put the link in the show notes and you can join. I will knock on the door. I will let you in. We're on X. I'm going to give it to you. And we're on Blue Sky. And if you want to support the show, you can via Patreon or buy us a coffee on ko-fi.com/Geek Syndicate.
Lovely jubbly. So once again, thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Or maybe we'll see you last time, depending on how wibbly wobbly and spacey wacy timey things. That was words.
That was wow. That's what you're going with.
That's why I'm not a writer.
Oh, it was a question for you before we go. Why was it called Wild Blue Yonder? Was it just because of that song? And was that song played by the TARDIS because that was basically that whatever you call it, hostile action thing kicking in?
Well, see, I don't know. I was expecting it to have played in more. The only thing I can think of really is the themes of the song, and obviously the Wild Blue Yonder, the Edge of the Universe, and that kind of stuff. Although, unless the TARDIS was trying to give a clue to them as to where they were, I don't know. I have actually tried to look into that to see if there's any further significance, and I can't find anything yet. So I don't know, mate.
Yeah. Yes, that to me seemed a bit.
Because they kind of really called it out. It's like,
yeah, and I just didn't know, because if that was the kind of almost like the alarm for that Has thing was kicking in, but I'm like, well, he said he turned it off, so he would have known what it would have sounded like, so it can't be that.
yeah, I think it was specifically to do with where in space and time they were. I think that was the TARDIS injured, trying to say, by the way, this is where you are, kind of thing. But I don't know. I can't find anything to back that up or not. Because usually with the HADs, it just literally disappears without saying anything.
Yeah.
I say usually. It's only played a part in a few instances, but yeah.
Okay.
I think the Crotons was the first time the HADs kicked in. I think.
Take your word for it.
Someone can correct me on that. But yes, so there we go.
See you for the giggle.
That was even worse than yours, Jesus.
Let's just put a stop to it.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye all.